Just want to say a big thank you for the sister girl back there. Mina couple worker. Couple mugi batanga. Ngai na Kane. Ngai mabaigule. Ngai au pamle. Good morning all. My name is Kane. I'm a proud Mabiag Island man from the Torres Strait with connection to the Au family, located in the Western Island groups. Before I begin, I would like to pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today, the Yuggera and Turrbal peoples. I would like to further extend that respect to all First Nations people present today. I am here to discuss the importance of country to First Nations people and how return to country today is a pivotal point in life that all mob must have the right to experience. For those of you who don't see it, there are lasting impacts from colonization 240 years ago. One of those impacts being the displacement of First Nations people from their traditional land, which occurred during the stolen generations, which I could discuss for, well, generations, but that's for next time. Right now, let's talk about what I mean by displacement. When you hear the word displacement, you might think moving something from one place to another, and you wouldn't be wrong. But when my people hear that word, we think of the impact, loss of language, disconnection to culture, and losing that sense of belonging. You'll see why this is relevant shortly, just bear with me. Last year, in September, my right to return to country was fulfilled. We arranged the flights, and before you knew it, we touched down at home. It's hard to describe, but the second I stepped onto the islands, I immediately felt a connection that runs deeper than just pride or love of my culture. One that runs deep within my roots, like the roots that run deep within the land. While I was home, I learned my grandmother's tongue, my people's dances, and traditional practices. I got to experience what life was like for my people every day. I was able to truly connect with my people. I remember one day, after a long day out, my brothers and mum went for a nap out in the afternoon. Except I wasn't tired. I decided I was going to go exploring and walk around the island. 5 minutes later and I ran into Uncle Fraser. Now, our Fraser was one of the key people who made our return home possible. And as I was walking down the street, I ran into him. He was sitting down with his partner, Auntie Shelley, and Auntie Shelley was talking with one of her friends, as the old folks like to do. And he calls out to me. He's like, "Hey, my boy, where are you going?" I told him I was going to go husk some coconuts. And he responded in language, "Yumi Gorkar," asking if I would like to go in the car with him. I happily said yes, and we hopped in the car and started driving. As we were driving, he was teaching me language and telling me things about the islands. And we eventually got to the other side of the island, where we found some coconuts. We got out of the car and slowly made our way to the other side of the road, to the beach. Now Uncle Fraser picks up the coconut and begins husking it on a sharp tree stump, walking me through what to do. He then handed me the half-husked coconut, signaling me to have a turn. As I began, he was correcting my technique and teaching me. Afterwards, driving home with our Fraser, I was just admiring where we come from. While driving, I focused on the bright green palm trees rustling in the wind. Behind them, I could see the crystal clear waters that fade into a vibrant blue the further you look. I glanced onto the horizon as the sun was setting, watching the golden light reflect off the surrounding islands. The kids were out on the jetty, hunting with their spears, screaming so excitedly as they pulled them out of the water with fish at the end of them. It was at this very moment I realized what it truly meant to be a part of my culture. And it wasn't something that I deserved, but it was a right that all my brothers and sisters are entitled to. This was something that truly changed who I was when I returned to Brisbane. I found a new strength behind my culture, a new driving force that led me to get up here today and share this part of my story so that other young mob out there can get that right to return to their ancestral home. You might be wondering, Kane, how is this long yarn relevant to the displacement of First Nations people? Well, if you ask me, it is all relevant to the displacement of my people because as someone growing up in Brisbane, a long way away from their traditional land, you might still have pride in your culture and find comfort through it. But nothing compares to the sense of belonging you feel when you can wake up knowing you stand where your ancestors have once stood. You can breathe the air your ancestors have once breathed. At night, you look upon the stars your ancestors have once looked upon. It changes and heals you for the better. They say you can't change the past, but what if we could correct it? Obviously, we can't just travel back in time and fix the mistakes that were made. But what if we could change the way we approach the future? The future of this country and the relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people rely on reconciliation. What must be corrected is the displacement that I spoke of before, and the effects that it had on my people will follow. What I am asking for is nothing more than a right that has been withheld from us for too long. I am seeking to create an organisation focused on assisting Indigenous youth in return to country, because the sad reality is that a high percentage of Indigenous youth cannot even consider the idea of return to country, because they are either in the youth justice system, can't afford it, or lack that overall connection to culture. The reason I was able to do it was because I was lucky enough to have that privilege. Other youth do not. I ask all the representatives in this room today to support this organisation in any way you can see fit. The organisation will be partnered with local community-controlled organisations. That's a mouthful, which means any organisation that is controlled by the community, local to where a return to country could be held. This will allow for easier ability to access knowledge on that return to country from that local region. For example, since I live in Brisbane, I won't have much knowledge in Cherbourg or Waka Waka Gubbi Gubbi country, which means that if I were to have a young person come to me and say, Kane, I want to do a return to country to learn more about my culture, I won't be much help, will I? Except, since we have that partnership, the community from Cherbourg can assist with the planning process. By establishing such a structure, we would be able to empower local mobs to make genuine connections with First Nations peoples, allowing them to truly embody their cultural ties. By doing that, we are not just going on a trip, but a self-journey that reflects who we are and where we could go. I have told you how impactful and how healing my return to country was for me. Now just imagine that change for whole communities. If other youth were to feel the same, like I did after my return to country, I can guarantee you we would see improvements in cultural pride, connection, and confidence. We could inspire Indigenous youth to break the chains that bind them to the system, and finally fill the void where displacement is replaced with belonging. So what I leave you with today is a quote from Uncle Gabriel. A life without culture is like a life without life. Kui mai estong Beka, a big thank you for listening.